stone draws you all to its brilliance, and you to your end. It is of the six. The infinite six cannot be joined nor kept apart.
Yo, what up, Tay here. So today we're going to be talking about a few topics related to Thor Ragnarok. And I kind of wanted to expand upon and revisit a few things I've talked about in a few of my past videos. Firstly, let's talk about the video I just released, which if you haven't seen it, check it out. In it I was talking about the Celestials and the Eternals in the MCU, Thor Ragnarok, and Infinity War. One of the other things I was discussing specifically was the theory that the MCU version of the Elders of the Universe, which so far is the Collector and his brother, the Grandmaster, are actually Celestials. And then there's also Ego, who you could sort of call an Elder. And I go into a lot of detail on the how and why of this theory in my last video, so again, if you want to see all those details, check it out. But anyway, I was super pissed because 20 minutes after I posted that video, I was browsing online, and literally as I was, it must have gone up when I was editing the video, an image of the new Grandmaster Funko Pop for Thor Ragnarok was posted. And as you can see, he appears to be glowing a sort of transparent gold, and the label reads Grandmaster Mystery Minifigure Celestial. So the good news is it looks like there is probably some truth to this theory, but the reason I was pissed is because I would have included it in the last video if I had seen it beforehand. And of course we saw the Celestial Essen the Searcher in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and Ego was a Celestial in Guardians Volume 2. So I'm not sure if Celestial only applies to the Elders and they are one and the same with the Celestials, or if it is a title that applies to any ancient cosmic being with godlike powers. We've seen Essen in that first Guardians movie, so we know that the Celestials from the comics exist, or at least existed in the MCU. And with this little glowing gold Grandmaster dude, he looks to me like this is supposed to portray him in his energy form, like how in Guardians 2 Ego's true form was that glowing blue energy underneath. And obviously if they're putting this out, it comes from somewhere, so I'm assuming we will see the Grandmaster like this at some point in the movie. But that then wouldn't explain Nowhere, which is the severed head of an ancient Celestial. So there's something more to it. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but Ego's a Celestial, Essen the Searcher from the first Guardians is a Celestial, Nowhere was a Celestial, and it looks like the Grandmaster and the Collector are both Celestials as well. And then I think we can probably assume if we see any other Elders of the Universe in the MCU, there's a good chance they will also be Celestials. But regardless, this definitely explains all the Kirby-esque Celestial imagery we've seen in the Thor Ragnarok trailers and images, so I wonder how this will all play out in the movie. From the trailers, it looks like the Grandmaster isn't really a villain or a hero, but what reason would he have for showing his golden energy form like this in the movie? Is he going to get mad when Valkyrie helps Hulk, Thor, and Loki escape from Sakaar and go all gold Super Saiyan rage mode? I kind of hope so, because that would be pretty badass. Anyway, let's move on to one or two Thor Ragnarok news items, and then I will get into the last topic of the video. Okay, first, I just thought this was cool, so I was going to show it to you guys, but Marvel released a new Thor Ragnarok logo that is influenced by and dedicated to Jack Kirby, who passed away in 1994. But if he were still alive, he would have just celebrated his 100th birthday just a few days ago. So they put this out, which is very fitting, with Kevin Feige tagging this logo. Kevin Feige was the one who posted this on his Instagram, and underneath it he wrote, "Ragnarok will be an unabashed love letter to his vision. Happy birthday to the king. Eternal. Hashtag Jack Kirby 100. And eternal, huh? Interesting choice of words. If you saw the last video, I talked all about the Eternals in that as well, so possibly this is a little hint to the Eternals in the MCU, I hope. And then next we saw various set photos online from Ragnarok of the crashed Quinjet that Hulk was last seen in at the end of Age of Ultron. And the bulk of these are what appear to be overhead drone shots of the Ragnarok set. But then we get this really good one of Thor inside of the Quinjet seemingly inspecting the wreckage. And you can see with Thor's armor and short hair that this is probably on Sakaar where this takes place, which isn't that surprising, but it does look to confirm, or most likely confirm, that the Quinjet Quinjet Hulk was on somehow ended up in space and was probably transported through one of these portals or wormholes, and that brought him to Sakaar where he crashed or something. Which still makes me curious how that happened and makes me think someone intervened and sort of abducted him there, because a jet on autopilot I wouldn't think that would just fly into space, but rather fly until it runs out of gas and crashes to the ground. I mean, maybe, it could be possible. They were clear up in the sky at the end of Age of Ultron on Sokovia when he took off in the Quinjet, so maybe he could have gone into space, but even still, if that was the case, with the infinite vastness of space, what are the chances he would randomly end up on Sakaar? But if someone is responsible, I would think it would most likely be someone who is at least aware of Hulk's existence, and I think the leading candidate is probably Loki, because at this point in time in the MCU, the ending of Age of Ultron, Loki had taken Odin's place as ruler of Asgard, and could have either himself, or maybe with the help of Heimdall, seen Hulk and presumably used the Bifrost to transport Hulk and the Quinjet to any point in space that he wanted. But I can't think of any other character in the MCU that would even know about Hulk, or at least out in space, that would have the means to abduct him, and I would imagine Loki still isn't too fond of the Hulk since the brutalizing the Hulk gave him in the first Avengers movie.
Enough! You are all of you beneath me. I am a god, you dull creature, and I will not be bullied by that.
Puny god.
Anyway, lastly, I wanted to expand upon something I discussed in these two videos. The first one came out before the Thor Ragnarok trailer from Comic-Con came out, and the second one just after that trailer came out. And in that trailer, we saw Thor flying down without his hammer and the glowing blue eyes. And in the first video I did before that trailer, I was talking about the Thor Ragnarok Battle for Asgard Lego set that showed what we would later see in that trailer, Thor with the blue eyes and such. So in both, I gave some scenario possibilities and theories about how and why Thor has all these new glowing powers. Because of course we see in the trailers that Hela destroys Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, seemingly early on in the film. And I saw numerous comments on those videos saying, duh, his eyes are glowing like that because he's the god of thunder. And I think that's an oversimplified and probably incorrect theory, because that would seem to suggest that Thor had this power without Mjolnir all along. But for some reason, in all his battles against Ultron, the Chitauri, and the Dark Elves, he just never used it. And a power like that surely would have come in handy in the first Thor movie when Thor was unable to use Mjolnir in his battle against the Destroyer. Plus, in Thor Ragnarok, if this turned out that he had these powers all along, it would just be, kind of lazy and shitty storytelling. And Marvel has really good scriptwriters, so I don't think that's the case. And in the comics, Thor has been around for such a long time, there has been a variety of powers and abilities he's been capable of both with and without his hammer. But for the most part, his powers when he's not with Mjolnir are he has heightened strength, senses, and durability. His bones, organs, and skin are much stronger than that of a human, and he was even once able to withstand a blast from a Celestial, which is relevant to this discussion as well. And he also has weather manipulating capabilities, which Mjolnir just heightens and makes those weather manipulating capabilities more powerful. Anyway, two strong possibilities for Thor's glowing eyes and new powers in his battle against Hela is 1. Rune King Thor, or an MCU version of Rune King Thor. Another is at some point in the movie Odin dies and Thor receives the power of the Odin Force. Then a third option that I spoke about at some length in those other two videos is that Thor harnesses the power of the Tesseract, which is currently stored in Asgard, and could be a situation very similar to how Star-Lord temporarily harnessed the power of the Power Stone at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy. Thor's eyes are glowing blue, the same color as the Tesseract, the Space Stone, the same way Star-Lord's eyes were glowing purple, the color of the Power Stone at the end of Guardians. But I've been thinking about this, and it's possible it could be a combination of all three of these scenarios, because, Marvel Studios are always mixing several concepts from the comics into one idea for the movies. And I think it's very likely Odin will die in Ragnarok, and Thor could take in the Odin Force. And with that, they could mix in elements of the Rune King Thor stuff, which included giving Thor the capability to take on other powers he would otherwise not be strong enough to handle. and that could enable Thor to be strong enough to harness the power of the Tesseract for longer than just a moment like Star-Lord did in Guardians of the Galaxy. And one of the other reasons I think Thor could be harnessing the power of the Tesseract is in the Thor Ragnarok Lego set. Thor's eyes are glowing blue, like I said, the same as it was in the trailer. And in the set, Thor is not throwing lightning, he's throwing these blue energy blasts. It even says Power Blast on the box. And, that kind of reminded me of how Red Skull, S.H.I.E.L.D., and Von Strucker's Agents of Hydra were able to make weapons from the Tesseract that harnessed its power and fired these blue energy blasts. So maybe Thor can use the Tesseract and kind of charge himself up like a battery or a weapon, and he uses that to defeat Hela. It would also make sense because it's temporary, so Thor's power is somewhat back to normal come Avengers Infinity War and Avengers 4. Of course, if he got the Odin Force, he would be more powerful than he was before, but it would still be fairly similar because you don't want that huge power differential between your heroes. You can't have Thor being way, way, way more powerful than the likes of Iron Man and Captain America and whatnot. Also, it would help demonstrate the power of the Infinity Stones one last time for casual fans before we get to Infinity War. It would kind of help set up Infinity War, and we've heard Marvel repeatedly state that Thor Ragnarok is deeply tied to and sets up Infinity War. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. To you who have watched those other videos, I hope you don't mind me kind of talking about this stuff again. I kind of wanted to respond to those and kind of expand on that and give a little bit of a different take than I did in those other ones. So, yeah, thank you so much for watching. You know the drill. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good shit, and I will be back soon.